Sales leadership is not easy, no matter what industry you're in. Right now, we're trying to figure out ways to motivate people, keep people on our team, and also help them to produce. It's tough. What can we do to fix that? Today, we're going to go over that. Exactly. 3 things. I'm telling you, stuff that you should be doing as a sales leader, or you can take back to your sales leader so they can do it to best help you. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. On this episode, we have an amazing guest. Her name is Gretchen Gordon. Gretchen has years of experience when it comes to sales leadership and specifically helping leaders like you and me to be able to improve our game. If you're an individual contributor, the things that she's going to share today, you're probably going to resonate with and say, that's exactly what's going on in our company. I encourage you to take this episode and pass it along to your management so that they can listen to it as well in a nice, loving way. Today, we're going to talk about some of those specific strategies and tips, things that help me as an individual rep as well. So I know as an individual contributor, you can find a lot from this. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, know that this show is designed to help you to increase your sales pipeline. We want you to 3 to 5x your sales pipeline with quality opportunities and obviously help you close twice as many deals. As we go throughout the episode today, you're going to hear insights. I want you to jot those down. Drop me a message or Gretchen on LinkedIn. Drop both of us a message on LinkedIn and say, DK, we heard the episode. This is what I loved from it. It would be greatly appreciated. As we dive in, she talks a little bit more about her past, about her experience, I should say, and how this frames up for our conversation today. You're going to love it. Gretchen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this conversation. Anytime I could talk sales with somebody from, the deep sales root and background as you, it's like, it just makes my day. People think I do this podcast to help other people. It's selfish. I'm doing it to help myself, getting all kinds of great tips. So,
but you're helping a lot of people along the way.
Yes, we are. And it definitely, I started the show, and I was clueless, not knowing what was working, and grateful for the people who have helped and given insights. And so many of us are coming for that purpose. And this is why I was grateful to connect with you. And I have your stuff down in the show notes for LinkedIn. And I want folks to connect back with you because you're one of those resources. People out there just give information, and really grateful for that. So I gave a backdrop and kind of bragged about you a little bit in a teaser. Tell us a little bit more about what you do, Gretchen.
Okay. So I'm the president and founder of Braveheart Sales Performance, which is a boutique sales consulting firm. We focus on working with small and medium-sized businesses. And so I lead a team of folks who are dedicated to helping organizations maximize their growth. And in so doing, they're working with individuals on those teams to become the best they can be, either in a sales role or in a sales leadership role. And I recently wrote a book about sales leadership called The Happy Sales Manager.
The Happy Sales Manager. All right, let me put that down. We're gonna put a little bit of information about that in the show notes here. So link down below, guys. You can check that out. Gretchen, so the Happy Sales Manager, with that book, there is a story behind that. Why write another book on sales management, especially with a title like that?
Yeah, so I guess the key to being happy in any role is feeling confident and accomplished, having the right mindset. And so it's no different in sales management. So sales management or sales leadership, if it's a founder owner who is now building a sales team, it's the same concept. Is feeling like you know what you're doing and doing the things that you need to do. I mean, it's pretty basic. So we come at it from the perspective of having the right skill sets and having the right mindset, and that creates happiness and effectiveness and being able to execute at the highest level. And frequently, people are promoted into a sales leadership role, and they are promoted because they were good as an AE or they were good as a BDR, and now they're leading a team of BDRs, for instance. And unfortunately, most organizations don't have the resources to train the people on what's different about being an effective sales leader versus being a direct contributor. And so people rely on their gut instinct. They don't know what to do, so they don't know what they don't know, and frequently they do what their boss did at one point, and frequently that's not good. Their
Mm.
boss didn't do it very well.
Yes, and you can see that. I've seen that as a sales rep. I'm sure you've seen it in your career many times over. How's that displaying right now in this environment? This behavior. Any ways that we can see um, how this is out playing out right now?
Yeah, so we've been through this weird time of the pandemic and everything where an awful lot of people have gone remote, or it's a hybrid work environment. There's a lot of, discussion about bringing people back into the office, and some of the big guys are requiring it. But frequently, what happens is we don't know. It's just different for everybody how they react to these change, the changing environment. And there's a lot of uncertainty about the economic environment coming forward. What's the market going to look like going into
Hmm.
2024? And really what has to happen is that people just have to get more personal. Managers have to connect on a more intimate level with the people that report to them, to understand what they're going through, understand what motivates them, what causes them to get out of bed in the morning and work through what they need to work through. And it can be a grind. So what we're seeing now is, okay, so how do I deal with a hybrid work environment? So when they're in the office, it's easy for a manager to, interact one-on-one, and, maybe listen in on calls or coach, that type of thing. But then when the folks are out of the office and they're maybe working from home, working remotely, it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. Well, you have to be a
Hmm.
little bit more proactive, I guess, when people are not physically there and they're going to walk into your office and say, "Hey, can you help me with this?"
Yeah, I can see that. We have a couple BDRs locally who are here, and then we have a couple remote BDRs. And one of the things that I find is there's a depth. There's going to be a disparity. The ones who are remote, they get a chance. They're good workers and get stuff done, and all right, and they're trustworthy and so forth. The ones who are physically here with me just so happen they started off with us when we started building our company. Like they have on this, they have a straight up way better advantage because they'll just come to me, or I overhear a call and I'm able to give some instant feedback or some guidance, or able to really just like go back and forth. That makes it so much better. And I think about the organizations that have teams scattered across the country and that vein. You're not talking about like three, but somebody who never got training as a leader, and they have like a team of 10 sellers that they're working with. How do you best do that? How can I become that happy manager and not the one that's frustrated when forecast numbers aren't being hit and the economy the way it is and all this other stuff? Like, how do we get to that point? And I know there's three main points that you have in our pre-call, like we were talking about. I would love to hear those. I know people are listening would love to hear what you are prescribing that can help us fix this challenge we're facing.
Yep. So there's three very specific things that say leaders of sales teams need to focus on, and they're going to sound like they're not that difficult, but we'll get into them a little bit. So one is coaching, one is
Okay.
holding people accountable to the right behaviors, and one is motivating. So on their surface, it's like, yeah, I do that. But when I say that, what I mean is to effectively coach the people on your team, whether they're in your office or whether they're, distributed. You have to have two kinds of coaching. We're
Mm.
familiar with the informal, or, hey, can I ask you a question? Right? That's easier when you're physically in an office. It doesn't happen as much, as you mentioned, when they're not
Yeah.
physically with you. It's not as easy. You're not at the water cooler. You're not at the coffee pot, whatever. Right? So it's incumbent on the manager to make sure those things happen. So just calling, reaching out, checking in, and creating that informal coaching environment. What do you need help with? What are you working on? What do you got going on? How was that call? Whatever. But then also, and it's especially important when you're not face to face with, the folks in your office, you're not with them in the office, is making sure that you have dedicated time for formal coaching. And what I mean by that is, even if you're not specifically with your team members, making sure that you are actually participating in some of their calls, listening in, and and obviously with the technology that we have, you can do that at real time or after the fact, but making sure that you have scheduled formal coaching time to review that information with the individual, and make it very clear that this is not a strategy session. This is not a, hey, ask me anything that you want, but have a clear agenda that we're going to go through, and we're going to help you with your craft, me as the manager and the individual seller, to help them become the best they can be. And it's just like anything. I know you talk a lot about um, sports teams, and sports teams don't go out and send their players out in the game having not practiced, right?
I can just
That's not
imagine that,
when the
right?
coaching takes place, right? It took place
Uh-uh.
before and it takes place after.
What does that agenda look like, though, for a sales leader? She's listening to this and she's like, I've just got promoted. I've never coached, um, never been coached. Uh, what do I look like? How long should that be? How often?
Yep.
Give me some of that.
Yeah, so I
That
think it needs to
goodies.
start first of all with what is it that the individual wants to get better at. And so the more you can get the individual to participate in what are they trying to work on, as opposed to just doing the, I'm going to critique your sales call, for instance, that doesn't work as well. What are we trying to accomplish? Where are you now, and where are you headed? And there's lots of ways you can analyze, how someone is doing now. But let's just say we have an agreement on what the individual is going to work on. Then that agenda for that formal coaching should be actually reviewing some of the sales conversations that happened. And if the team is following a repeatable sales process, then that kind of gives the manager, the leader, a roadmap of what questions to ask. Okay, so, when you asked them about their budget or whatever the part of the process is, what did they say? And
Mm,
that way you can get the other person talking to either say, well, I didn't ask them about that. Well, did you not ask them because you didn't know you should ask them, or did you not ask them because you were uncomfortable? So really using the sales process to create a platform where the sales manager can ask questions about how a sales conversation went. The coaching can also include, let's focus on an upcoming conversation, and give me the rundown of it, and help the salesperson practice. What are you going to say to start the conversation? What are you going to say if the other party says something? So it will be, for all intents and purposes, practice and role playing, but it doesn't have to be a great big long role play pretend session. It can
mm.
be just like, what are you going to say if they say this? What are you going to say if they ask you this question? What are you going to say? And get them comfortable saying the things. In a in an environment where you've got a mix of people, because you asked the question about how frequently and what should the
Yeah.
agenda look like, how long. Your newer folks, you're going to want to do it more often, more frequently, to make sure that they've got the confidence to conduct the conversations. That does not mean that you ignore the more tenured folks or the people who are more successful. In a perfect world, I would say everybody should have a formal coaching session once a week. And if you're brand new, it might be more frequently than that.
Mm.
And it can be a half hour or an hour. It doesn't have to be, half a day or anything like that. In some scenarios where you have a great deal of confidence in some of your more experienced salespeople, you can maybe do it every other week, but do not get in the habit of skipping those just because they're meeting goal and they're being, successful. Remember that the point of coaching is really to help the other person become better than they otherwise would be if the manager were not involved. And the manager, I guess I would say, especially for new people who are promoted into management, I
Hmm.
made this mistake. I thought I had to have all the answers when I was a sales manager for the first time. You don't have to be the answer person. You don't have to be the person that they run to and say, what should I say? What should I do? They're going to do that. You don't have to have the answer. You should say, well, what do you think you should say? And get the other person's brain working. Again, reinforcing the point that the manager should think of it like, my job is to help them be better than they otherwise would be if I weren't here.
Mm.
But just telling them what to do doesn't get them better. It gets them better at the moment, but it doesn't get them better long term.
So I just several pieces to that. That last one was straight up money. Like that was gold right there. You don't need to know all the answers. Like just love it. And I feel like the best managers I've had been in that same type of environment where they challenge me. They ask the questions and made me think. They hired me because of my competence as a human being. And I think that's the main component. You're not hiring somebody that you have to tell everything. And if you do, that sucks. You need to hire people that could think and use critical thinking. And usually, like you said, people have the answers. I think about it with my kids. Sometimes I ask him stuff and he has answers or ideas of how to do something. And it may be different than the way that I would have done it. But there's a real value behind that. The other one that I like that you shared too is you know, the concept of the regular sessions. I've talked about this on past episodes where I had a great manager. She thought everyone was doing well. We were. And so she eased off the gas and we started to decline. Not that we were sloppy sellers. It was just that accountability or guidance and the coaching was important. And then the final piece that is, I love what you shared, is the different scenarios you practice when it comes to your, the role plays. I'm a big fan of space, so the Apollo, Apollo missions, Apollo 11, like when they landed on the moon, it was, they had this. I think it was like I remembered it from all the documentaries, like a 1201 or 1202 alert, and what that was something that they practiced. It was an obscure issue that they practiced over and over, all of the different scenarios. And Neil was able to still land. And for all you haters who say that weren't moon landing, that's another episode. But the point is, they knew what was going to happen because they practiced them before they happened. So it became second nature to be able to land. So I love this. Come on, man. So good. So good.
It's all about building confidence, right? Getting them
Right?
more
Yeah.
confident, and they're less reliant on the manager to tell them what to do.
Mm. All right, so we're supposed to be a 20-minute episode, y'all, and we are halfway through the episode, more than three-fourths, and we are going into the second point now about the accountability concept. I know we kind of went into this a little bit. We'll talk about this. Why is this so important to solve the issue at hand when it comes to salespeople performing right now?
Back to a little bit about what you said, Donald, with regard to, you said you had this team and
Uh
you
huh.
guys were performing, and then, we kind of backed off the coaching and, things fell off a little bit. Accountability is kind of just the metrics, right? What do we
Mm-hmm.
need to be doing on a regular basis to produce enough opportunities to predict success and cause success? And most companies have, make so many phone calls, whatever those metrics might be. But what I'd like to do is have the managers view themselves as the accountability partner, not just the check the box, did you do this? Did you make
Mm.
the phone calls? But what are we trying to accomplish by those phone calls? Did you ask enough questions? Did you listen enough? There can be more kind of qualitative quantifiers, I guess I would say. And so if we're really trying to focus on continuous improvement, then thinking about what are those metrics, what are the behaviors that we need the individuals to perform. And it's not just mindlessly going through and making 200 phone calls a day. I mean, that might be part of the job, but let's make it a little bit more focused on what do they need to do and how well do they need to do it to produce results. And so I like managers to really position themselves as accountability partners, not, crack the whip. You need to make more calls. Your numbers are off, that type of thing. It's really more of a, hey, you won't accomplish your goals if, you don't do what you committed to do. What do we need to do to help you get better at that?
Yeah. If anything, like if you do that, I feel like it's more, um, you make me feel as if I don't want to do it because now it's being forced to do it, right? Or
Right.
it's, we want people to do things of their own free will and their
Right.
desire rather than I have this oppression boss that's telling me I need to hit these numbers. You keep at that level and you're going to find that it's an easy way to have a good turnover,
Yep. Nope.
a
You're
high
exactly
turnover.
right. You're exactly right. And actually, that point goes directly into my third, big element, which
Sure.
is motivating and understanding the motivational tendencies of the people that report to the leader. So it's very much tied together. If we have an intimate relationship with the people that work for us or report to us, and understand why they get up in the morning, why they come to work, what makes them tick, and understand what are they working for. So whether it's monetary gain or whether it's personal satisfaction or it's being the best rep on the team, whatever it is, then the manager can take that and personalize the accountability measurements to that motivational piece. And what I mean is, let's say there's compensation focused on, if you get so many appointments that turn into business, then you get a bonus, or you're getting a commission on each of those good appointments, whatever it is. If the individual seller has a financial motivation, meaning they want to buy a house or they want to expand their existing house, they need to buy a new car, something that would, at its core, require additional funds to do, then if the manager understands what really matters to that person from that perspective, then they can go back to the accountability piece and say, Donald, I know that you wanted to get a new car, and we agreed that to do that, you would need to have, X, Y, and Z happen, which would produce enough income for you to put away to be able to do that. And that required you to do these activities, this number of activities every day or every week. And you've fallen off a little bit. So at this point, you're not going to be able to get your new car. That makes
Mm.
it much more personal. And like you
Yeah.
said, it's not just go do more, but it means something to the seller as to why they're doing it. And then the manager can be more of a, like, hey, I'm like your concerned and caring uncle or aunt. I want you to be successful, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it gives me more money is good. I think what's the I think it was Zig Ziglar who said it. Money, and if I not, I'm giving him the credit for this, but money is not the most important thing in the world, but it's right up there with oxygen, right? So it
We all want more money. It's a matter of what
we
are we willing to do to get it, right?
yeah, we all want it, and it's like we can earn that in this wonderful career we have. But going deeper, it's more what you're saying. It's like there's a compelling reason. Like again, if it's that house, or perhaps it's helping my mom. I remember what for me was help at one point. I was helping my mom with. She was trying to get a car, and we were talking about that the other day. I was helping her with some of the, a couple of the cars that she was getting at one point, and I was in a position to be able to do that. I mean, it wasn't like breaking the bank, but I was in a. She wasn't running around in a Rolls Royce, but but we had a good conversation. I had a capability of helping her, and had the funds. And there's different little things that happen with our family where I was in a position, our family was in a position to do so, and that's motivating. That's more more exciting for me rather than to get the commission check.
Right.
And I think when a manager recognizes that and helps me to stay on track towards that and that outcome, that's a leader. And I'll go back to one of the things you said. I put it down about the sales rep. Could they have accomplished this stuff without me
Yeah.
there? And then that helps me to see, well, what am I needed? And at least the higher ups should be looking at that to say, is this person needed? We're paying them X amount to be a glorified forecaster. Can we can we do? Are they really motivating and helping a team elevate their game? I think it's easy to say Michael Jordan didn't seem like he was the greatest coach. Fantastic player.
Right.
And I think we have some of those coaches that's been around, like say Phil Jackson was a great coach, a great player, a good player. It wasn't like a historical player like Jordan or Kobe, not in that echelon, or Kareem. However, he was a phenomenal strategist and coach. Could Jordan have accomplished what he accomplished without Phil? And it probably is no. And I think it's the
That's
same
right.
thing with our teams. And I really love that point that you made. If that was the cost of admission, everyone, to listen to this episode, like that piece there, I think it's just straight money.
Well, and you bring up a really, really good point, which is there's different skill sets that
Mm-hmm.
those individuals have. Sellers and managers, while it's typical managers come from the ranks of being a salesperson, right? And so they have some of that experience, but there are different skill sets and mindsets that those managers need to have to be the best they can be. And it's okay if they weren't the best salesperson um, before they became a manager, because again, there's different skill sets. You need to be able to coach. You need to hold people's feet to the fire to do what is necessary to help them be the best they can be. You need to want to understand what people come to the office and and what they want out of their life. And frequently sellers don't need to understand that. Now, to be the best salespeople, they would need to understand that about their clients and prospects. But so we have to think about what are the key traits that would predict success in management if you're a
Mm.
top salesperson. And frequently it's not being the top salesperson because they're a solo practitioner.
Yeah. Truth being told here. So much good in this episode today. If there's one major takeaway you want leaders listening to this episode to walk away with, what's that one major piece of advice?
I would say be open to the fact that you don't have to know everything, and it's okay to not know what you don't know. So focus on your craft, not just what your old craft was, which was being an expert salesperson, but really
Mm-hmm.
elevate your team by elevating yourself. And you could always get the book, The Happy Sales Manager, and it would give you the roadmap for that.
Well, we're putting that in our show notes. Folks, it's down there. Go ahead and check it out. Click on that link. If people want to get in touch with you to learn more, even to maybe bring you in to get some consulting coaching from you, what's the best way for them to go about connecting with you, Gretchen?
Either on LinkedIn, so Gretchen Gordon, I'm on LinkedIn, um, or email Gordon at braveheartsales.com.
All right. We're going to put that in our show notes today, everybody. Go ahead and connect with your Gretchen. Appreciate you guys coming on, for you being here today, Gretchen. Appreciate you all listening to it, and wish you all a great success with everything you're doing, Gretchen.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. It was fun.
All right. You just met Gretchen. I'm telling you, the stuff was great. I encourage you, if you're a sales leader, to apply these things. If you're not a sales leader, please be sure to pass this along to your management or someone you know in sales leadership. The principles will help, and also will help you as an individual contributor now that you got a chance to truly learn and truly know what sales leaders are facing right now. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to come on to be here today, listening to the show. Thank you for being willing to pass this along to your friends and somebody else who could benefit from it. Check out our sponsors and amazing stuff they're offering. And if you find the show beneficial, I would love for you to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you dissect and consume podcasts. We have a LinkedIn prospecting course that's beginning in January. We have a cohort, and we would love to have you join it. We're going to have multiple cohorts for this group. We're going to have, we know there's a lot of people have interest in LinkedIn prospecting, and we can't wait to have you. Feel free to let us know if there are any questions. Check it out below. Find the information at thesalesevangelist.com/LinkedIn. As always, I want you to raise your level of thinking. Go out, do big things, get that pipeline, and make some money in the process. I'll see you on the next one.